Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is a little gift box or treat box. I've used the Artistically Inked stamp set together with the coordinating artistic dies, as well as papers from the beautiful Expressions in Ink Designer Series paper pack. To remove the lid, you just pull on the ribbon. The box measures 3 inches tall, wide and deep. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, take a screenshot so you can refer to it later. You need 2 pieces of card to make up the box. My base should have been Magenta Madness, but I didn't have any 12 by 12 card to cut it from, so I'm actually using Melon Mambo. The lid is in shaded spruce, and this can be cut from your standard size card. Starting with the base, I'm going to place it into my Simply scoreboard, and I'm going to score on all sides at 3 inches. Then I'll switch to the lid and I'm going to score this at 2.5 inches on all sides. On both pieces I'm going to create tabs on each of the corners. Now to do that I'm going to cut up the score line, and I'm actually cutting just to the left of the score line, so when I cut the score line will be removed. And then once the tab's created, I'm going to make a slanted cut on each side of it. You don't want to have a slanted cut on the middle section. Then I'm going to rotate my cardstock anti-clockwise and repeat. So I make a nice straight cut just next to the score line, and then slanted cuts either side of the corner tab. And then I'll repeat this again for all 4 corners and for the lid section. Using a pencil and ruler, you want to determine the center point of the lid section. This is where we're going to make the hole for the ribbon. You want to make a hole at the mark that you've made. Now you can either just use a pokey tool to do this, or if you've got a hole puncher you can use that. Mine is an X-cut one, and it enables me to punch a hole anywhere on the card where I want it. It's not limited to the length of a handle or anything. There we go, and it's done. I have a mat of gold foil and another of the Expressions in Ink Specialty Designer Series paper. I'm going to layer these together and then position them onto the top of my lid. Now my hole punch will go through several layers, but it needs some force to do that, so where possible I like to do it in stages, which is why I've already punched the hole, and then I'll punch the hole again through the rest of the layers separately. I can now turn it onto the reverse side and I can see where the hole is. I can position my hole punch and punch it. It didn't go all the way through, but it's not a problem because it did make an indent on the right side. So I'll just line it up again and punch it again. So it's gone through all the layers. I can now fold on all the score lines and burnish them with my bone folder on both the lid and the base. The ribbon I'm using is our open weave ribbon, and it's actually in Polish Pink, but it's close enough to the Melon Mambo or Magenta Madness that I should have used for it not to matter. Now I'm just going to fold this in half to create a loop, and then I'm going to push the ends through the hole that I've made. And you just want to make sure that it's not twisted when it's gone through. I'm going to secure this really well onto the inside, and I'm going to use tear and tape adhesive to do that. So I'm going to place 3 little strips for each end of the ribbon, and then I'll press the ribbon down onto them, and then I'm going to cover them again with 3 more strips on each side. The box is going to be opened by pulling the loop, so the last thing you want is for that ribbon to come undone. I have a small square mat of shaded spruce, and I'm going to add glue to it, and you can use more tape adhesive here if you want to, and then I'm going to cover the ends of that ribbon. So if you're looking inside the box, everything is still nice and neat. And while the lid is still flat, I'm going to decorate the side sections. This is always easier to do when the box is flat rather than to make it up first. So I have more gold foil pieces and more of the Expressions in Ink paper. I'll layer these together, then add them to the sides. I can now make up the lid and the base to this box, and they're both done in exactly the same way. I'm just going to add glue to each corner tab in turn. And again, I'm using wet glue, but you can use tape adhesive if you prefer. And then you want to position it against the adjacent side section. And while you're doing this, ensure that it stays at a nice 90 degrees, so your box is nice and square. And once finished, you can add your lid onto the base. And they should fit nice and snugly without any buckling. I'm now going to decorate the top of the box, starting with a basic white mat that I've die cut. And I used one of the Hippo and Friends dies for this. It's the largest one in this group. I'm going to use the grid on my cutting mat to help me find the centre point of this mat, and then I'm just going to mark it with a pencil and then punch the hole. This is the Artistically Inked stamp set, and today I'm using the small bloom and the leaves and the thanks sentiment. I'm now going to emboss the sentiment onto this white mat, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Majig to help me place it accurately. Now, this is a retired Stampin' Up product, but the Stampin' Majig is actually still available from other suppliers. Amazon is a good source if you're looking for one. Now, I do have a detailed video of how to use it with hints and tips, and I'll leave a link at the top right of the screen to that video just in case you're interested. Of course, you can freestyle this completely. That's just not me. I like to be a little more precise. So first of all, I'm going to prepare my cardstock using an embossing buddy. And again, this is a retired Stampin' Up product, but they're widely available elsewhere. Now, the embossing buddy will remove any static, so you won't get bits of embossing powder sticking where you don't want it. I'm adding some temporary adhesive on the back because I'm going to place this on my grid paper and I don't want it to move. You want to use a dark ink so you can see when you stamp on the reusable plastic sheet. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is place the handle snugly in that top left corner, and I'm going to hold it in position. I don't want it to move. And then I'm going to ink up the stamp and position it into the handle so it's touching both the top and the side. And then I'll slide it down so I stamp on the Perspex sheet. And there's my sentiment. Now I can take this sheet with the sentiment on it and I can place it wherever I want it to be stamped onto my white mat. And I want the little hole I punched out to be sort of surrounded by the H in the thanks. So I can take my time and place it, making sure it's exactly where I want it and nice and straight. And then when I'm happy, I'll hold it in place and I'll reposition that handle snugly in the top left corner. Then I can remove the sheet. Whatever you do not want to move that handle, so I'm going to keep my hand on it. I'm now using Versamark ink and inking up my stamp, and then I can position my stamp again into the handle, touching both the top and the side of it, and then stamp it down. Now, as long as you haven't moved the handle, you can overstamp, which is what I'm doing now, so I'm making sure I've got a really good impression. And then I can cover with gold embossing powder, and then melt the powder with a heat tool. Don't forget to remove the temporary adhesive from the back, and you can do it just by running your finger over it. I've gone ahead and added dimensionals along the edges of this panel. You do need some support in the centre, but if you add dimensionals around the hole, it makes it very difficult to thread the ribbon through. So what I'm going to do is actually place those on the top of the lid, just close to where the ribbon comes through. Then I can remove the backings from all the dimensionals. You then want to push the loop of the ribbon through the hole that you've made in the white mat and pull it through as far as you can, but so you can still place the mat where you want it on the top of the box, and then press it down. I'll be using Magenta Madness ink for the flowers and Shaded Spruce for the leaves. I need to stamp 3 flowers and 2 sets of leaves. I'll be using the artistic dies to cut these out, and there's an outline die for both the flower and the leaves. And that's my box complete. These papers are really beautiful. And the lid comes off, and the box is plenty big enough for a small gift or some sweet treats. And here's a look at the card that I created to go with my box. Now this is a fancy fold, it's called a double gatefold. If you're interested in seeing how it's made, and it's super easy, I'll leave a link at the top right of the screen under the eye to the video. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.